Hey, hey.
Hi.
So grateful you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Let's set an intention.
Yeah.
Curiosity, intention.
Hello, this is Alexandra. Welcome to the Curiosity Intention Meditation. Bring your attention to your breath. Breathe in curiosity. Breathe out curiosity. Breathe in curiosity. Breathe out curiosity. Silently or out loud, say, I pay attention to what's working and what needs work. I pay attention to what's working and what needs work. Visualize embodying and practicing curiosity. See yourself being curious. Set the intention to cultivate curiosity today. May you be curious. May you pay attention to what's working and what needs work. May you be heroic. Have a curiosity-filled day. Sending you love and blessings.
There we are. Let's get curious.
Did that spark any curiosity for you?
I'm so curious. I just live curiously. I'll use that as one of my superpowers. Claim it. I'll claim it.
Yeah, you should. Curious people are the best.
Curious people. Why? Why are curious people so?
So I'm actually really fascinated with curious people because I feel like I was always curious about some things, but very much grew up like I kind of questioned or wondered about what I was told to question or wonder about. And so things like I'm provided a problem and I need to find the solution and I need to figure out how. And then you have curious people who just look at the whole world wondering more and wondering more. And like, I'm always so fascinated by people who ask great questions and who are just curious about like everything because I have had to train myself to like be more curious about most things. So it's just very I don't know, it's really fascinating to me, and people who are curious tend to, like I think that they can solve more problems, and they can see more things for how they are, or see more opportunities because they're constantly asking questions, and they grow a lot through that, typically, and I don't know, I just think it's really, really fascinating and cool. It's one of those things, like, you want what you aren't or what you don't have, and I've had to work at being curious, so, like, I just think curious people are the best.
Does that fit within a disc profile?
I think I think part of it is like because of my I think for me personally it's because of my disc makeup. I think there's a lot of high D people who are curious but not for a million answers. They're always challenging themselves or challenging the things in the world, and so it comes off as curious and they learn to be curious, but it shows up in the way of challenging. um I get curious about like problems or finding solutions, which is the high C part of me. Is I want the answers and I want the facts and I want the details and I want to learn more, but it kind of has to be tied to something. So I don't know, but it is like high Ds tend to be pretty curious people. It just doesn't show up as them like wondering about things. It shows up as them like, you know, they don't want to have to follow the mold, or they don't want to have to play by somebody else's rules. And so then they start thinking of ways that they can do things for themselves. High I's are curious in certain ways, but it's usually just classified as nosy because we just want to know what's going on with people.
Interesting. So it might be curious about humans, right? Would be like the high I.
Yeah.
Curious about, is it efficiency? D's?
Just like structure, I would say, for the high Ds.
When you're saying high C, curious about, curious about the facts. And
facts, data, information.
The right answer. And then S, where would the S's be? Curious.
Not curious.
Not curious. Why? It's dangerous out there.
Because they want the structure and they want the consistency. And when you get curious, you start getting into like the unknown. I'm not trying to say any high S is like not a curious or thoughtful person. It's just like high Ds walk around looking for things to challenge in life. And that just blows my mind. I love it so much, but they like risk. They like to challenge the status quo. They want to do things better than anybody else has done them before. Like, I think it's so cool. I used to pick my seats in real estate classes based on, like I had like 4 people in my market center who asked questions constantly. And so I would always show up like right on time to a class or a few minutes late because, you know, realtor time, nobody actually is there on time.
Yeah.
So I'd show up a few minutes late so that everybody else could take their seats and I could go get a seat like near those people. And I'd be like, why'd you ask that? What made you think to ask that? Like, how did you come up with the idea to ask that question? Because they told me data and I just went, okay, great. And that was period, the end for me. And there are like 18 more questions.
That's your curiosity about their version of curiosity?
I guess it's more like the curiosity about humans and myself and like, why don't I think of all of those questions? Like, what's broke? Where am I lacking that I don't do that or think of that? Do I not think big enough?
Okay. I love it. Okay, so we're going to rewind. We jumped right in. But my first question to you, who are you?
I'm Katie Campbell. Usually carry about 18 titles. My favorite is mom and wife. You know, 18 titles. Yep, that'll make a lot of sense in a minute when we talk. Lover of humans and the human brain. Naturally curious person about human brains, but not much else. And lover of tacos.
Would you call yourself a disc expert?
There are definitely people who are far more versed in it than I am, but I am like a wannabe disc expert.
How about
aficionado? Enthusiast, that's perfect.
Okay, we got it.
We got there, man. We got there. I usually just describe myself as somebody called me. This used to be like my total bio because I hate when people ask for professional bios. I know it's super necessary and I ask for them too, but I hate writing mine. And I used to say, like, I've had 2 separate descriptions of me written. And I was like, human version of all caps and human version of exclamation point. And I was like, golden. That is my entire profile. It's great. I'm loud and excited.
Easily excited?
Yeah, always.
Yes, always.
I think I told you this, that like very recently I had an opportunity that we were looking at and it looked really good on paper and it sounded really good in theory and everything lined up and logically it made a lot of sense. And I couldn't make myself accept it. And like one of the biggest reasons that was a red flag to me, because people kept saying, you know, maybe it's fear, like it's something new and big and a huge change and all this stuff. And I finally said to my husband, I am like the most excitable person that I know, and I can't even force myself to be excited about this. And that's really concerning to me because, like, I get excited if it's like, I don't know, if my food is the right temperature or like I get to eat something. Like, I don't,
If
I
it's
don't,
what is it, cornbread week at Crumble?
oh,
Is
like
that
crumble. Yeah, I'm not eating crumble right now though.
but normally pretty exciting, right?
Like like that will carry me for days. Days. My enthusiasm and excitement will be like off the charts and I will tell everybody and yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
and I couldn't get excited about it, and I was like, I think that that's like I don't listen to my gut reactions very often because I like logic, and so I was like, maybe that's the way that I know that this is not for me.
okay. Let me analogy time. So a human, but
Mhm.
we're an airplane.
Okay.
So over here is one wing, and we'll call that our logic. And then we balance it out unless we want to turn, right? Sometimes we got to turn, but
Mhm.
most of the time we're going straight. But
Yeah.
over here, we've got our wing of emotion. So we need both of them, right? And then I would say our gut sense. That's kind of like just important. Maybe it's the pilot. We're in the pilot seat. Um,
Mhm.
but then it's our decisions is the propeller that moves us forward. And so we just take all these things into account, right? Of like, maybe it's time to turn, right?
Yeah.
Um, and lean more into logic versus emotion. But that's one of the things that framework for me that helps me to say, like, because I'm so normally emotionally driven.
Yeah.
And then it's the emotions of like, does it either feel good or feel bad, right? Am I excited about this emotion or not? And so maybe that's the part that's telling for you of like, I can't get excited about something that like logically makes so much sense.
Mhm. It was a huge struggle. So I used to be like very emotional and grew up very much of like a like, well, I am who I am. Like my parents very much were like just people are that emotional or whatever, and I was very reactive to things, and then I kind of started learning more about how you can be responsive instead of reactive and started breaking down like why do I feel the way that I feel, and then I'm going to break that down and self-examine first and then choose my next course of action. um and then I think I swung like too far the other way, and so when I was telling Brett when I was pregnant and I couldn't logic myself out of emotions, and I just kept, because usually I can like feel something, break it down, explain why I feel it, and then move on. And I couldn't do that anymore. And I was like, I allow myself to feel like happiness and excitement and all of these things, but like everything else, I'm able to just break down why I feel that way, and then I don't feel it anymore. I can't do that. He was like, well, right, like that's a sociopath. Like, you're supposed to actually have emotions, you just don't let them dictate your entire life, but they are indicators of, like, what's going on.
Can't I just kill this emotion?
Yeah, and oh my gosh,
So annoying. Keep
I
showing
was
up.
so mad. I was like, "Why do I feel all of these things? This is so crazy." Um, Anyways, wow, what a tangent. But yeah, I think that maybe, like, I do like I do like logically thinking through things even when I feel a certain way, because I am very apt to say yes to something because it feels exciting and fun and like a challenge and stuff, and then all of a sudden I have 27 jobs instead of 18, and like that's not great.
Understood.
So, I do have to use logic, but I
Yes.
I don't know. They were really conflicting this time, and that congruency and that counterbalance is important. And
Yes.
I was like, it feels wrong to make a life-changing decision based on emotion, but here we are.
Okay. Decision made.
Yeah, decision made.
Okay.
Yep.
Proud of you. Life's about
Thanks.
making decisions, right?
Huh?
Life is just about making decisions.
Over and over again.
I'm preparing to teach QL.
Yeah.
Gary's teaching us, right? Like
Yeah.
get good at making decisions.
Yeah. It it's hard, I think, and this is how we can tie this into disc really easily. I used to struggle more with decisions. So I'm a high I and a high C. Um And because the high C is typically like a perfectionist,
Okay.
I wanted to evaluate every possible outcome of a decision and of like no matter which decision was made. I wanted all of the info and analyze what could potentially happen either way. And then because I'm a high I also always thought about how it would impact other people and what they would think about it or
Mm.
feel or how it would affect them and stuff. And I was so scared of risk. I was so risk averse um that I wouldn't make decisions.
Mm.
Um and so, I once I started learning about this and stuff, and I think I shared this with you recently, that I actually took an entire year and shadowed high D people because they love risk and crave risk and understand how to navigate it really well. And so I did get curious. I got curious about high Ds. And I went and shadowed them so that I could learn about like how their brain operates and what factors have to be at play for them to feel comfortable with risk and how to make decisions and what happens when they make the wrong one. Um, and I now very much am like, can celebrate making a wrong decision because at least I did one and we knocked it out and we did some problem solving and we moved on, you know?
I love that. And we can then gather the data, right? If you're a high C, and say
Yeah.
this either worked great for me or not. At least I have the
Yeah.
data of having tried and learned from that experience.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very much and very much and it's weird, this conversation about curiosity mixed with disc profiles, because I hadn't really thought about that before. They're like two separate. See, again, I wasn't curious about how the two correlate because to me, I've had all these thoughts about curiosities and people who ask great questions, and they're like a fascination to me. And then, like, obviously, I know disc very well and have always focused on that, and I hadn't really thought about the two together, but that does make a lot of sense. But, anyways, now I'm going to be curious about that. I'll journal. I think also, let me word vomit a little bit more, because as I said that, I thought, well, maybe it's just different types of curiosities, because there's a phrase that I say a lot is like, well, I'm going to journal through that. And that's me being curious about myself and about how things play together. And so maybe it doesn't feel like curiosity to me because it's like introspection and it's analyzing. And so maybe I need to reframe analyzing to curiosity, and maybe that'll prompt me to ask better questions instead of just collect data in my brain. Maybe I can say them out loud.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So then is it like, what's the opposite? If you're not curious, so we stay in curiosity, right? Is that like
Mhm.
stay out of judgment?
Yeah, it's usually judgment.
Could we analyze in a way that is a judgmental analyzation? Or,
Always.
right? Or we, or we could take a curious approach to analyzing our data.
I think the difference is analyzation with a judgment is you already have a perception and a desired outcome, and you're studying it to better that outcome or to judge it. Like you've already decided what you want the data to do. You're hoping that it supports the data. Analyzing out of curiosity is truly like opening up the floodgates of letting it teach you instead of you coming in hoping to like make things make sense the way you want them to.
Okay, so yeah, curiosity is being led by a question. We don't
Mhm,
know what the answer is,
mhm.
versus like, hey, this is the outcome we're trying to get to, and I'm just trying to find the data that would support and the
Right.
evidence that would support that.
Yeah. Or
Yeah,
like you're wanting to prove yourself right, whether it's a positive or a negative,
yeah,
and I'm not saying people skew data to do that, but it's like a very like you have a specific purpose for analyzing in that situation, and it's to validate an emotion that you're feeling or a thought that you have. Um, Whereas curiosity is more of like a let's explore.
fascinating, and it can happen.
It is fascinating, man. All of this is like this is also why I love watching people. Once I learned about disc, it's like, man, I can just I can just watch people and understand a lot about how their brain works by like the questions they ask or the way that they respond to people. Like a 3-minute conversation with somebody could probably tell me a lot about how their brain works and like how to communicate with them better, which is like my favorite part of it and the most helpful tool, I think, is like I learn how to I it's that thing again of like the golden rule is treat people how you want to be treated and the platinum rule is treat people how they want to be treated. And this is like the secret sauce to the platinum rule. I can't hear you.
I should unmute my mic.
Here we go.
My question is, how do you hold on to your authenticity of like who you are, and then does it show a different facet of yourself for like a high D? If you're going to show up and give them what they want, is it, are you being a chameleon or are you being adaptable? How would you frame that?
Adaptable, I think, is probably a better way to phrase it. The chameleon thing of like, I know a lot of people say, I'm a chameleon, I get along with everybody. No, you just have to master how to communicate with them. So, like, let's use the very basic premise of this, right? Of like, I speak English is my native language. That's my first language. It's my native language. I went to Paris, learned a few phrases in French, learned a couple things, right? So that we could communicate effectively and everything was better. I'm still a native English speaker, and that's very obvious. My accent it's not impressive. It doesn't change who I am, and I wasn't pretending. It was a tool to help there be better, deeper connections and more efficient communication. And so I don't think it's like changing who I am. It's allowing me to express who I am to that person in a way that they'll understand, because most people view communication through their perception and their lens, right? And so, like, you could get an email, like a high I getting an email that's like 2 sentences or bullet points or no niceties or anything at all feels very much like they're mad at me, there's something wrong, they don't like me, this, that, and the other, when really it's just a high D communicating really well. And so if you understand that they're just communicating efficiently and they didn't mean it rude, it's just they had literally 2 minutes to write an email and they thought it was important enough to get it out to you. That's a totally different perspective than like walking around on eggshells because you think this person is upset with you. And so, like, understanding, A, it saves me a lot of heartache, and B, I can like it's how I can connect with people better. It's also way more efficient. So like I learned things like I am a high I, in case you can't tell by this. Like I love to talk and I love words. And it's bad because I'm a high I and I'm a words of affirmation girl. So like I just love them. I love to yap. And yet I got into real estate and I need to get like very specific information and I need to be able to like uncover information and get quick answers. And I'm sending emails to high Ds who are not going to read 8-paragraph emails. So I had to learn like every single email that I send, I delete at least one line, usually a paragraph if there's multiple, bullet point at least like everything that I can, and remove 3 exclamation points. And like, I just put the odds a little more in my favor of like, you're going to answer this, you're going to see what's important, or like sometimes I love to introduce people. I love it. It's my favorite thing on earth. And so when I have a combo of people, like I have one guy, he's a high D or DI. And so I love to give glowing reviews of my people when I introduce them. So I literally at the top of the text message said, "Hi D version, I need y'all to get on a call. It'll be worth both of your while." And then I like spaced down a few things. I was like, "Hi I version." And there I did the full intros, telling them like who they were, what the purpose of the call was, everything. But I had to give the first part so that he would actually read the rest of it. Because if he opened it up and saw that text, he would have been like, nah.
No time for that.
But if I can give him the TLDR basically of like, this is the connection that I need you to make. You need to get on a call within the next 2 days. then it's like in his brain. Okay, I can go back to that. Same with negotiations. If you know what the other agent is on their disc profile and you talk to them that way, you're the best agent on earth, man.
Give them what they want, right?
Yeah.
Treat them the way they want to be treated.
Yeah.
So it sounds like an awareness, right? Starts with self-awareness, maybe.
Yeah.
Awareness of audience, and maybe awareness of, you brought up like within real estate, within a transaction. This is an instance where we're going to bullet point, keep it short and sweet. Maybe the same person at a networking event and you're at the bar or something, right? You're having a chat at dinner.
Yep.
It can be a different event, different audience, right? Or same audience, different venue.
Yeah. Well, and like, I know I'll talk about this when we do our class. Like, I tailored my buyer and listing packets based on their disc profile, my presentations based on their disc profile. I would change the order of showings based on their disc profile, knowing what they needed to see first or last or what would sustain them. Like, the way that I approached my clients was totally based on their disc profile so that I could give them an experience that they needed to feel secure, confident in me, trust me, and get the information that was actually important. Because how many times have we all had clients that, they say, well, you didn't tell me that, or you didn't explain that. And you're like, I said it 17 times. It's because you didn't say it to them how they needed you to say it. I'm not saying I'm perfect with it, but like, it helped me a lot,
Yeah. So I think I just heard this stat, and maybe I should verify it first before sharing it. But most of life happens 95% just subconscious, and there's only like 5% of what's actually going on that we're aware and conscious to, right?
Yeah.
And so if it is being able to say like, okay, this is a person that needs, maybe I would need more warmth, more fun, more what?
Yeah, high eyes are going to need to be, you need to greet them, you need to ask how they are, you need to show an interest in it, like you need to
right?
like you need to actually be involved in the personal aspect of it, and that has to happen first, or the entire conversation feels transactional and rude.
Ooh.
It's like you have to connect first. You have to. And the hard thing, especially for agents, sorry, I love y'all, I'm included in this, is like you need to keep eye contact and you need to be expressive on your face, and you can't just be like checking your phone while you have to be there and invested, and like you have to help. you have to help them feel like they're your friend.
Okay, so that's high I.
Mhm.
What is a high ID? What do they need?
Data first, answers. And you better have it before they ask.
So give me showing. Same idea. If we're on a showing, we know it's a high D.
Walk in, give them the stats, give them the layout, pull out some comps that you did so they can start thinking about like an informed offer price, and have something that they'll want to look at of like, compared to that one, this one has blah, blah, blah. That's different, whether it's worse, bad, better, none of it doesn't matter. Just have something,
And
but
in bullet
information.
point form, right?
However, yeah, I mean, bullet points, tell them whatever, just walk in, know your stuff. And here's the thing about high Ds that freak me out the most. They aren't afraid to be challenged and they like it. So like if they say something and give you pushback and you're right, you can push back. Like, don't be rude, but you can push back, and they like it because they trust you as the expert and they want to trust people as the expert. High Ds are the first ones to like, if they doubt you or have to ask you multiple times for things, like they're going to do it themselves. They're very capable.
So they're testing almost so you can prove yourself that
Yeah.
you're trustworthy?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, because I just feel like, to me, that comes across as like they're being rude, right? It's like
They're doubting me.
They're just testing the waters, right? And it's like, if I can just show up with like, here's a confident response, data, that helps me.
And if you don't have it, just tell them that, but give them a time that you'll have it to them by, and then follow through. Like, show up with that information,
Okay, high S. We're on a showing. What does the high S need?
Comfort, stability. So you need to remember why they're moving and be able to help them envision their life there, but you can't push too hard. So you can't put them 100% in the room of like, imagine birthdays and Christmas and da 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 and da da da, because then all of a sudden you've uprooted their entire life. So you like talk about the possibility of some of these things, ask questions like, how does the size of this kitchen feel to you? How does it, and then compare it to the other one, talking about how it would be an upgrade and get them used to the idea. High S's almost always need more than one showing on a house because they're going to want to see it again. And the best thing that you can do for a high S, the best, is tell them the next step. Literally always tell them the next step because they want comfort and they need to get their brain equipped for the fact that they are making this big of a change. And so you can't blindside them. And so like if the next step is that they're going to go home and talk about it, then like, great. I'll let you go home, reflect on the day. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll follow up with you about 7:30 if that's okay with you. Are you free during that time? We can kind of review your thoughts and then we can put together a game plan of what you want to do.
Okay.
Comfort, next steps, high S's.
Okay, high C. We're about to go
data.
on.
All the data. Yep. And be ready to like, man, if you show up with like one of those laser tape measure things, the laser ones, right? So you can get them information that they want. Think of like an engineer, right? The spatial visualization is really important. But if you know details beyond like this many beds and baths, whatever, that's going to help a lot. Or give them resources. So these are the people who like literally show up with a folder with like just resources that they might want, like here's who the water's through or the heater, dependent on the place. Like here's all of this and you can look into it. Here's where you find more information, but have info beyond just this has 4 beds, 3 baths. They know that.
Yeah.
They know that. And just be ready and be patient. But have the information ready.
So then how D and C? If it high D, high C, tell me the contrast between those two.
Ooh, it's really funny because they actually present really similarly because they don't have a lot of patience for not getting the information. The thing is, a high C is probably going to ask more questions. Let me rephrase. They're going to dive deeper into the questions. So like a high D, once they get their answer, they'll move on. A high C, it's probably going to spark another question.
So data quickly for high D, data prepared for follow-ups.
And here's the other big difference is like a high D, give them the question that they ask for and have it prepared and be prepared for other things. But like a high C, you could give them the data that they requested and give them additional. High Ds, once their question is answered, they're gone. High Cs, if you want to present more facts and things that they can study, by all means.
So then is it, how do you know?
What do you mean?
I just, is it you give the bullet points to the high C and then say, here's further, or get to both of them if you don't know. Maybe it's, hey, here's the bullet point information. If you want to learn more, here's where we can learn more. And then you can tell that that's probably leaning more towards a high C that's really wanting to dive deep.
Yeah. All right. I hate to do this, but I have a call.
Time to go.
In 1 minute and I cannot be late. So I'm so sorry. No, and if you need to like re-record a different ending for this, let me know and I'll hop on and do it. But I have to be on this one.
Okay. Appreciate you.
You too. Bye.